Welcome back to another episode of the Dynasty Dingers podcast. It's Tuesday, April 22nd. We are getting closer and closer to having more baseball data. 3 weeks are down. I am joined today by Doc as always. Doc, we are busy lives, it seems like, but here we are yet again, right on track, consistent this season. How's your day been?
Good. I flew over Chase Field today. I'm in Arizona. Gosh, this place is hot. My mustache is slightly different. And folks, this isn't fake. This is a real. I filled it in a little bit. Spoiler alert: I'm doing an acting role. That's real. I'm doing a real acting role. But man, like, should I just fill this in with the what do you call it? Should I
The
just use
Just for
that just for
Men.
men?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because now I'm Tom Selleck. So we went from like, okay, he's kind of cool stash to now I'm Tom Selleck. And so, I mean, if I was single, and I guess I would have a lot of venereal diseases.
Yeah, you just might. So when you say you filled it in and it's your real hair, so what you're saying is you just haven't trimmed it. Is that correct?
I don't know why I'm saying filled in. I'm like, it's my all 100% natural hair. It's just kind of like you use it. It's like mascara for eyelash. I don't know. I don't really know
It
about that
darkens
kind of
it?
stuff. It's just like a little brush, and you brush
Okay.
it, and it makes it darker. So yeah, it just apparently I have very light mustache hairs, and this is great for the listeners who don't have any visuals on us right
Yeah, I was gonna
now.
say you should also preface who you're playing in this role because when I looked them up, I was like, oh yes, this makes a lot more sense.
William Bradford, who if we have, hey, I know if you're this into fantasy baseball that you're listening to, fringy podcasts like ours, you might be on a little bit of a spectrum. Now, maybe there's some crossover to historical, quirks like that. If you're into American history, you probably know William Bradford. He's one of the Mayflower pioneers. So yeah, they got me out here in Arizona. I got an Airbnb room. For the listeners at home, there is a weird stereo painting on the wall. I feel like that's at every Airbnb. It's like part of your starter kit sent from the company, and then a fuzzy pillow.
It's funny when you right before we started recording, you went and did your thing before we jumped on and hit the button. It reminded me when I moved to Los Angeles 8-9 years ago now. The first month we Airbnb'd, we Motel 6, like we did what we had to do. Don't need to go deeper than that. But one of the Airbnbs we had was 3 rooms. You rented your room as if this home in not a good part of Los Angeles was a hotel, and all 3 rooms, nobody knew each other obviously because they were rented out individually, all shared one bathroom. And that was
Mm.
my first taste of LA, and I was like, I don't know that I'm gonna love this place that much, but yeah, literally the same setup. Like it was like a starter kit, the bedspread, the crap on the walls, the lamps. It's like,
I've
do
seen this
they?
in other Airbnbs. I know I have.
Yeah, it is. It's just like it's got to be on a website or something. All right, well, let's get into baseball, right? First news that we're going to talk about today is news that we were just chatting about before, and it's news that Christopher Sanchez left tonight's game in the second inning or after 2 innings pitched with forearm tightness. Not the greatest, right? He's a guy that you acquired and saw the rewards of that in one of our leagues. Velo was up, Velo was down tonight. There is some concern that this could be Tommy John. So I want you to talk about Sanchez a little bit, but also my question that I held for us hitting record tonight was, does this bring or move up the timeline of Andrew Painter?
Think it has to move up the timeline a little. Maybe we want to think a little bit about Moises Chasse, someone who I don't really talk about that much because I want to call him Moises Chase. I'm scared about saying that. I could have sworn he's at a higher level. He's at Double A. Okay, no, he's playing bad right now, so maybe not. Moises Chasse, though, over the last few years has had like a 14, 16, 13, 13.5. And even this year when he's struggling, 11 strikeouts per 9 rate, which is, I don't want to blow your mind. That's actually good. His walks have never really been this bad. I remember debating with someone this offseason, but yeah, he's got about a 10 walks per 9 right now. That's only over 7 innings. But my point is, if they want a slow roll Painter because they know he's their gem, they don't want to damage their future for the short term. Maybe it's someone else we're not thinking about right now. I think at the same time, though, if they were imagining maybe they could get by and he comes up literally September 1st, right? They wait the whole season, or August 1st. Maybe it's moving up a month. Maybe if he's crushing it and showing he's ready, July 1st. Like I think that's a reasonable position to take.
Yeah, I think, excuse me, I think another name we could talk about in that chase basket is McAble, a guy that's,
Mm-hmm.
not been loved for a couple of years now, had high pedigree being a prep arm. Sitting on the season, 4 games started, 21 innings, 26 strikeouts, 3.80 ERA, as I desperately need to cough here. I think Abel could be a replacement.
McAble, he's had. So I feel like a goofball.
He's
All
not
that talk,
sexy, but
all that talk about Moises Chastain. I'm like, he got 10 walks per 9. It's like, bro, 7 innings. I'm just like realizing how dumb that sounds, folks. I flew a bunch today. I've very sleep deprived over the last couple of days, so I reserve the right to say more dumb things than usual. But McAble, yeah, I mean, he's 23. It feels like he's been around forever. You would think he'd be like 26 by now, like real post hype. But that's what happens when you come out as a prep kid. Sometimes it's a long road. We talk about this all the time. And so control has been his issue. Command has been his issue. He's got 21 innings pitch. So it's a small sample size, but it's actually something real. It's a few starts. 11 K per 9, 3.8 walks per 9. For him, that's really good. He's consistently been in the 5+ territory, 6+ last year, walks per 9. And so he was really starting to look like a reliever type. And he's not out of the woods yet, but I think you might be onto something. And certainly, I don't know if anyone's talking about Tommy John just yet with Christopher Sanchez. Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. But, maybe his forearm tightness just makes him tighter, bro. Maybe it's like a chill. Maybe it's like an improvement, dog. I'm trying to see if I have him in. Okay, good. I could have sworn. I know I was targeting him everywhere, but I think his hype got too much by the end of draft season. So I didn't get him in TGFBI like I wanted, which maybe will be a blessing. But certainly, yeah, not good for baseball. And I'm confident I have him on a few more teams, which sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yet another name to go down, right? Like this is the reality of the season. We're in April. Yes, we're getting closer to May, but look at what we saw last year in April. It was guys dropping like flies.
It's been better this year.
It's
I
been
thought
a
about that the
lot
other day.
better. Yeah, it's been a lot better. So unfortunate news for Christopher Sanchez, and we'll kind of wait and see. I mean, it's within the last hour or so. So, Doc, MLB has a nice little article out. I want to reference it. It is the top 100 prospects at AAA that are StatCast standouts. It's the traditional guys, right? Roman Anthony. They are referencing his 31.9% barrel rate, which is exceptional. It's been talked around in the industry. Alex Freeland, his hard hit rate. But the player I want to reference is actually Caden Dana, a guy that hasn't really gotten a lot of excitement in the prospect circles. Kind of got rushed last year, made an appearance, did come up out of the bullpen this year for the Angels, didn't pitch well, but he has a 56% slider whiff rate in the minors this year. And in 3 games started, 16 total innings, he's at 20 strikeouts, a 1.06 whip, ERA sitting at 1.13. And this kid's 21. He will not turn 22 until the offseason. Big body. There is some concerns with the fastball, its shape, plus its velo. He throws a 94, 95 when I'm watching him pitch. Where do you think Dana falls in regards to stashability this season?
I think he's someone who every time I hear about him or we talk about him, I'm thinking, bro, he's going to be that kind of sneaky breakout that shouldn't be so sneaky. It's just he got angels.
Yeah.
He got angels apostrophe deed. But he's like, they just brought him up way too fast as a 20-year-old. And so if you look at his AAA, you look at his minor league stats, he's really good. I mean, he's got a good blend of strikeouts and command. It's just his bad stats are all in the major leagues when he got rushed up. And so this year, really good. Yeah, I mean, here's what you really want to think about too. So we see 11 K per 9, 2.8 walks per 9 in PCL play. So that's basically every game is more or less like Great American Ballpark or Coors Field. It's
Honestly,
crazy.
perfect representation is the A's home ballpark, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
because I'm pretty sure that park is PCL.
yeah. So the fact that he's really rocking it out there right now makes me think something's clicking. He's only 21 years old. Like he's really young. 21 is young for double A. This is what I say. I said this in my Sunday Smoke article about Jackson Holiday. Yeah, we all expect way more, but he's 21. And next year he still will be just 22. Like he's got a lot of runway these guys have. But yeah, like technically 21 is actually young for double A. Never mind triple A, never mind the big. So but I think Dana, they'll probably give him another chance by the end of the year. I mean, you never know. It could be by the end of the month. Hopefully they let him build up
No
that
kidding, huh?
confidence. Yeah, hopefully they let him build up that confidence. But if you're thinking of stashing or trading for Caden Dana, I recommend you do that sooner than later.
Yeah, I'm sitting right there with you in the same boat. I want to transition. We have the news this week that Nick Kurtz has finally gotten the promotion. Supposedly he's not in the lineup today. Today is a transition game for him. They are facing a lefty. Patrick Corbin's on the mound. Supposedly that's not going to be an issue for platoon splits for him via the organization. They just want to give him a day to get acclimated. Great news, right? We love Nick Kurtz. We're really excited for what his career is going to look like, his performance so far. Before we get into the Nick Kurtz conversation, though, I want to lean on CBS Today and what the guys did for CBS Baseball. Just kind of talk about the breakouts at first base, because I think you and I feel differently than some of the people in the industry. So I want you to rank these first basemen. Torkelson, we have Soderstrom, Manzardo, you have Aranda, and we'll start there. And where would Nick Kurtz fall into that group for you?
Gosh. Soderstrom, what he's doing. So we're talking dynasty or this year?
The long-term dynasty.
Long term, I think I have Kurtz at the top for dynasty rankings. And full disclosure, a lot of that is prospect shine. If he goes, if he bats 100 after his first 10 games, I'm going to be a lot less inclined to say that. Whether I will still say it, I don't know. I can't tell you the future, but I'm just telling you, I'm trying to be transparent with how a lot of people think and feel. And he just seems so polished. He is in the PCL. That's worth noting, right?
Yep.
We see, but he's playing at a PCL park, so like, does it balance out, right? Kind of a cheat code in the major leagues, and this is something to maybe think about, right, with guys like Soderstrom or Kurtz moving forward. Is that, well, in theory, one day they might move to a bigger park in Las Vegas. I think that's the plan. So,
Yeah, you're not wrong. I would imagine the ballpark won't play as friendly, but Las Vegas has a higher elevation and the ball just absolutely flies here.
gosh,
I mean, the park in Summerlin is, you and I could probably hit balls for 450
when was
with
the
a,
last time you looked at Jonathan Aranda's Savant
no,
page?
his Aronda's
When was the
Savant
last
page
time?
2 days ago. Him and
It's
Soderstrom's Savant pages
Yeah.
are ridiculous. They're so incredibly good that's the problem, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
pages are that of an Aaron Judge, a Shohei Ohtani, a peak Yordan Alvarez. They're red all the way down, and they're blue exactly where they need to be, and that's terrifying.
Aranda's is better, but like you should look.
Aranda's his is better, but he's also
It's like
in
all
he's in a
99
platoon
across the
split though.
board.
So he
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
often face lefties, right? So I think that's where Soderstrom's numbers are probably more accurate to us, because Aranda's doing unbelievable, but what if he was facing lefties? Those numbers probably come down a little bit.
Yeah, what I was arguing, I'm not sure I think it was offline. Maybe you and I were just talking. Or actually, no, I made a post about this. I'm remembering now. It was about, who do you believe in most going forward? Rice, Torque. Oh, it wasn't Torque, and I left him off of it for some reason. Soderstrom, Rice, or Aranda. And people were all in it. I figured Soderstrom would win it. Rice surprised me by coming in third. I publicly chose Aranda and justified it. So I don't know. Maybe I swung him into second. I'm not sure. It was my feed after all. But I do believe that, like, if you look at Aranda's year over year underlying metrics, his while they're still taking a jump, way less of a jump than like Soderstrom's rough K and whiff rates. It looks like his whiff rate's starting to kind of come back to normal again. So we'll see what happens here. But you look year over year, Aranda took like the least astronomical jump, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, in fact, his whip rate's actually worse this year, Aranda, like kind of considerably, and he's doing way better. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But Kurtz, I don't know, man. I think he's got that kind of eye. I think that I guess I'll put it in like a tier. I think that I would have. It seems like Torkelson's taking walks this year. I mean, geez,
I want
it's
you
just
to
so.
also add Manzardo to this. So you've got 5.
Uh-huh.
You've got 6 names.
Dynasty moving forward, we'll say average and OBP league. OPS 2, we'll say. Give me those names, Matt, and I'll rank them for you on the spot. And I reserve the right to change them 10 seconds after I say it.
Tomorrow. Nick Kurtz, Spencer Torkelson, Soderstrom, Manzardo, Aranda, and we'll put in Ben Rice as your 6.
So if I'm drafting a dynasty league right now, Nick Kurtz, number 1. Ooh, it's tough. Number 2 is the toughest. I'll say Aranda. 3 Soderstrom, 4 Manzardo, 5 Torque, 6 Rice.
Okay, I like it. You really aggressive with Aranda, but we talked yesterday, and there's been a lot in his profile to like. A lot of contact, good approach throughout his entire minor league trend. But 2 is the hardest, right? I agree with you. Torque number 1, kind of class of his own. You said it. Prospect shine could wear off. But when we look at all of these guys as prospects, if they were all still prospects and we throw them into a bin, I think Kurtz is probably the best. I think then Torkelson too as a prospect, right? And then it gets muddy between Soderstrom being a prep bat taken, showed some really good things in the minors, was a catcher originally, Aranda being the contact guy, but playing for the Rays. Manzardo probably better than Soderstrom as a prospect, at least more highly touted. And then kind of Ben Rice just hanging around in the distance where it's like he's clearly emerged. So I think your rankings are great. It's to each owner's preference.
It's tough to go Manzardo over Torkelson was just my gut over everything. If you want to just look at Savant pages all day and just base your rankings off that, go ahead. We've known these guys over years, the highs and the lows, and frankly, I think you have to. I think what I'm doing is I have to factor in the lows that we've seen from Ben Rice last year. I'm still a little scared from that. And Torkelson, obviously, like the whole industry wrote him off, other than Ross Jensen, and even then Ross. Like, Ross is flexing pretty strong, but he wasn't like he's gonna be a guaranteed stud at rock bottom. Even like his biggest champion, Ross Jensen, was saying like, I think he still has the pedigree. I think he can still be good. No one was
Manzardo.
Torkelson. When he was at his rock bottom this offseason, where people were like, oh, hopefully he'll be a short side platoon guy. Like that was the hope. We were thinking, is he going to like Korea? Like, what's happening here? It seemed like it was over. And so even his biggest fans, it wasn't like, I don't think anyone was enthusiastic on Torque.
No, but it's hard, right? We're sitting here on April 22nd. You and I were both enthusiastic about Jordan Walker coming into the season. My enthusiasm at least has died out. There's not much to be enthusiastic for me right now. That could easily change in a 7-day period of time if he hits 2 or 3 home runs and starts showing some authority at the plate. And that's what Torkelson has done for 3-4 weeks now, right? And so for me, I'm taking Torkelson and Manzardo ahead of Soderstrom, and I'm actually doing so by quite a big margin. I just think they're better players.
Can you say that again?
I'm taking Torkelson and Manzardo in Dynasty over Soderstrom by a pretty big margin. And it doesn't mean that I don't like Soderstrom. I've said on this show that I think he clearly has the talent. He was the best player on the field at the AAA game that I saw here in Vegas by a lot. But Torkelson and Manzardo have had the major league experience. More importantly, they have both failed and rebounded at the major league level. And so has Soderstrom. But there's a difference between having good success, then failing, and then rebounding. So I want to see Soderstrom go through 2 to 4 weeks of this season where he's hitting 200 and his strikeout rate's at 35 and then rebound. And then I will have more confidence to put him in the Manzardo and Torkelson kind of tier because I think he will be there for his career. But it is interesting. The Savant page for Manzardo in comparison to Soderstrom, if you just saw those as you had mentioned, and you had to pick a player, you would laugh at even the thought of picking Manzardo's over Soderstrom. Yet Manzardo has 7 home runs, 4 against lefties, if I'm correct. Like, that's pretty impressive.
I'm thinking about starting up a bat speed only league, and Jordan Walker's like the number 1 pick. 99
his bat speed
percentile.
it's incredible.
And then
It's
everything
incredible.
else is
Awful.
garbage. Other than he's actually fast. 6'6", 250.
How's
fast.
his chase?
Awful. Everything's
Yeah.
bad other than a bat speed and EVs, hard hit. And
I wouldn't be
speed.
surprised if we see a star breakout in August and September if he's still given the at-bats. You know, like
Yeah.
just puts it all together. Because if the bat speed's there, you know, the big thing for him was always the ground ball rate and then changing of the swing. And we know that that's well documented, but it's like he probably will eventually just figure it out. It's just, is it this year? Is it next year?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
I mean, people, I think a lot of people, we are tempted to look at these Savant pages and be like, oh, the Savant page is telling us who they are. It's like, no, that's a measurement of what's already happened.
It's who they are today, right? What they've done today. Yes.
And so, like, you can look at Jordan Walker, like, oh gosh, it's just who he is. That's his profile, and it's like, yeah, you can definitely use that, and you probably should. Because again, like, it's not like he's showing us how bad he can be.
Yeah.
But then you look at, again, we can't ignore 2023. It wasn't a couple games. I'm looking at a Savant page. It's like, for a rookie, it's really good, right? It's like everything with that kind of raw tool of bat speed and EV and like power, and he's got that speed too. Like the natural athleticism he has. If you just have all of those Savant bars just midway, average, you know, we've got a good player here, and you can build from that. So,
and you're talking about Soderstrom still, correct?
Now I'm talking about Jordan Walker.
Jordan Walker. Okay. Because Soderstrom's is similar with his career. I want to get back to Soderstrom for one moment because the industry is talking about the same concept we brought up, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because it is probably the biggest talking point right now with positional influx. The reality is, I don't think Soderstrom's ever a first baseman again. That, like, we've all overlooked this. There's conversations that he might play third, he might play in the outfield, he might DH, but it seems as though Nick Kurtz is going to be the Athletics' first baseman of the future. So I think we even need to like really scale back and look at Soderstrom as a dynasty asset long term and say he shouldn't even really be in this conversation. Sure, maybe for 2025, and if you're in a league for 2026, maybe he still holds that eligibility. But what if he does just become a left fielder? It's a very different conversation then. He's still a very good outfielder, but he's not in the first base class anymore. Does that affect you at all if you're an owner in a dynasty? And like, are you going to try to get ahead of that maybe this offseason? Or is it just too early to have that conversation?
You said third base, and that would increase his value.
Yeah, that's true, right? Maybe outfield decreases a little bit, but third base would be a huge jump in value.
Could.
Would you take Soderstrom at third over Vientos?
I have to see more. I mean, someone offered me Soderstrom for Vientos right now. That's such a tricky deal. It's so tempting to honestly, anyone who's hearing that right now is like, yes. My first instinct is like, oh, that's where the value is. There's more value
Today.
but today, right? And so that's weird. Like Mark Vientos, his profile, funny enough, he's actually showing more patience this year. He's actually willing to take a walk. Like he's starting to make some improvements himself. By the way, he was 24 last year. I think people kind of forget that. And so he just turned 25 recently, and he's trending up. He's got another hit today. He had a couple of homers. In fact, he's coming back and getting hit off the top. You know, he's hitting again at least after hurting himself. That's really good. Yeah, did he take a walk here? No, it's a slugging percentage. But yeah, Vientos for Soderstrom. I mean, kudos to Soderstrom. The fact that he's in this conversation, and I don't know. I'd have to see more of an indication that Soderstrom is going to play third. Because actually, as of right now, today, with Soderstrom being first base only, I'd rather go with Vientos.
Yeah, see, that's a great statement, because that's where I am right now today. Polar opposite seasons, right? Polar opposite track records. Soderstrom dominated the minor leagues. Vientos had some good good years, mightily struggled at the pros. Is struggling to open 2025. Soderstrom dominating. Yet what you just said is probably the smarter option. Now Soderstrom could go on to hit 40 home runs this year, and we could look stupid. It could happen, right? Like in that case, it is what it is, because he'll have put up a better 2025 than Vientos did in 2024. Better K rate, better walk rate, potentially, if he keeps it where it's at. But it is just April.
Well, I think what we have to really talk about is the end of Tyler Soderstrom and why no one should care about him, and only talk about Agustin Ramirez from now on, because he's 3 for 3 tonight. He's 3 for 3.
I'm so frustrated. I put a $1 bid in knowing I should put a $5 bid in, and he got a $2 bid. I didn't get him.
In what league?
In my home league.
Okay.
So a real dig. And my catcher is Dingler, who's having a nice year, but he's not a starter in a 12-man. And we've loved Ramirez for a while. You more than me, but you've influenced my thought on him a lot, especially with your aggressive ranking that you posted about. And yeah, came on, stole third yesterday, having a killer night tonight. Probably, and I will be aggressive with this. You tell me what you think. I think he's probably easily the number one catching prospect in baseball outside of Basayo. But, there's some question marks for when does he come up? Like Ramirez 2025 should have been a must add as soon as he came up. Would you agree?
Well, there's two questions there. One is he should have been a must add when he came up like 2 days ago.
Must add in, let's say 15 teams, because I know that 12-man leagues, like
as of right, I'll just make it more simple. As of right now, Agustin Ramirez needs to be universally rostered in every league. 18.
Wow. Damn, you're feeling that strong about him? I mean, I love it.
I had him as a number 6 prospect, I think, at one point. I don't know if it was 6. It was top.
You were super aggressive. Yeah,
it wasn't. It's starting to feel good.
Yeah. You gotta get those screenshots out.
We'll see if we'll wait for more than 2 games. But he did come out and he was like between 5 and 10, non-debuted at one point. This is before the 2024 draft class came out, and then he slumped a little at the end of the year. It didn't ruin him for me. I believe I still had him top 15 or top 20, my last rankings. So that is still by far the highest in the industry. Yeah. And that's why I got him everywhere. I just valued him more than almost everyone. And because here's the deal, he was part of that Yankees hype machine, generational talent. Everyone went nuts. He got traded to Miami, and the world forgot about him. And I'm like, he's still a human being. And hey, even if you don't want to think about him as a human being, he's a fantasy asset. There's actually more opportunity here than having to compete with Austin Wells. And I got a little tie-in with Austin Wells coming up, but I will say that he just has always shown great, bat speed, great EVs. He's clearly a strong individual, but he also has shown willingness to take a walk and to, he's got a good eye and plate discipline. Already exciting, because I remember I had to deal with Mike Zunino one too many times, like in my fantasy days, and I'm sick of those hack and slash catchers just destroying my ratios. And there's still, there's less of them now than before, but there's been some dark eras. And so to see that, and then I've always been like, the stolen bases, they'll probably go away. They don't seem to be going away. We may have JT Realmuto on our hands. And I actually, in my 12-team home league, folks, when you're too good, when you add the Durbin, when you add the Kyle Stowers, when you add, when your guys are getting called up, when they're coming off of DLs or whatever, I just went back in time. When you got Jonathan Aranda for free, when everyone's hitting, you have to find your cuts in your more shallow leagues, right? It's like a good problem to have, but it's still really annoying. I cut Austin Wells for Agustin Ramirez. I had to make a slot for him on my active roster. I actually didn't have to. I could have kept him. We have this system where I can just keep him on like these waivers. It's Yahoo. It's basically, imagine on Fantrax, a real system. You can just keep him in your minor league slot for a while to see how he does. I went full aggression. I said, nah, I've seen enough. Like, he's ready. And so I cut Austin Wells. And I like Austin Wells, but I just feel very confident in Agustin Ramirez moving forward. I think he's going to be a top a top fantasy asset for years to come.
Yeah, and Austin Wells is streaky. I mean, he's hit 179 in the season, 4 home runs, 10 RBIs. Good lineup, has shown us great stretches before, but he's a streaky hitter. And with what Ramirez offers with that speed, it's hard, right? Like if you can get 15 stolen bases from your catcher, and I'm just kind of keeping that as the floor because, I mean, he was on pace to steal 100 bags if he started 100 games, right? Yes, compared to yesterday. But if you get 15 stolen bases from Augustin Ramirez and a 250 average with 15 home runs rest of the season, that's far better than what Austin Wells is going to give you, even if he hits 220 with 20 home runs. So I'm on board with that.
It's ironic that I said it while I'm wearing Austin Wells' mustache.
Yes, you have this the similarities today. It's time. I have some other things I want to get into, but I want to talk about the trade we made. You're really big on Matthew Liberatore this year. I rostered him in both of our STS startup 30 mans. We kind of had this discussion off air, but I'll bring it up now just to preface for the listener. It was, deeper leagues, especially a 30 when you're drafting. I think late my logic was who can I take that might turn into an actual asset, right? Lean on some of the post-hype prospect pedigree guys. Liberatore falls in that, more of a prospect star with the Rays. A reminder, he was traded for Randy Arozarena, and I'm thinking it was straight up. Anyways, Liberatore kind of breaking out right now. It's still a little bit too early to say he's breaking out, at least in my opinion. Love what I've seen. Usage is different. You're going to talk about that. You traded me and you gave me a very aggressive offer today, coming from an offer that I was not impressed with. So kudos to you for being aggressive. You offered me your first, second, and third round pick in a 30-man for the 2027 season. So this will be 2026's records bleeding to picks for Liberatore in my, I think, 8, 9, 10 picks, which is, late rounds. You did this in both leagues. I accepted in both leagues. We had some people that I can't tell if they were being serious or if they were just trolling us that, brought up some frustration. And we both came in like, hey, the reality is you give me 2027 picks. I might be lucky if those players come up by 2030, 2031, realistically. So yeah, I've talked a lot about that. I'm going to turn it over to you, say whatever you want and, build up Liberatore because I think he needs to be talked about.
Yeah. So first of all, it's a challenge, right? To myself, I'm looking at my teams and I'm like, they're not that far off, and I've been so busy the first few weeks. I'm like, I need to do something. And it's funny, I was mowing my lawn and I was listening to a Cardinals game. And I wanted to watch it, but this freaking lawn's huge. It's like a good problem to have. Thank you, Jesus Christ, for giving me an amazing property. Just renting, but still. I'm going to read you what I wrote. I haven't put it out. This is a Matt Morris exclusive. By the time this podcast is out, this tweet will be old news. But we're going to read it live on air.
And it's fair now because the trade is official. Because you weren't going to tell me last night, which I loved. I didn't think a deal would come, but yes. So tell me what I was not privy to yesterday.
Former first rounder Matthew Liberatore looks like he's breaking out. I watched my fair share of card games, but hey, even I have a tendency to dismiss their arms as boring innings eater types, like the comparably rostered Andre Polante. They're about 14 to 10% rostered on Yahoo last time I checked. But you know what? Libby's hardly walking anyone. He's generating a ton of chases with his stuff playing up this year, and his arsenal looks considerably different. The key may be his changeup usage. Despite grading out as his best pitch in 2024, he hardly used the dang thing, about 4% in a deep 6-pitch mix, which should be exciting if, the pitches are actually good and playing off of each other. He's now throwing that changeup 11% of the time. Doesn't sound like a lot, but up from 4, that can make a difference. And it appears like that's just enough to keep hitters off of his four-seamer, It's a changeup. They call it a changeup for a reason, right? So it's a completely different look, but, can often tunnel well with a fastball and keep hitters off guard. And that because of that, the reason I say that is because the fastball's strikeout rate, it's way up over last year, allowing him to put away batters at twice the rate. His strikeout rate with the fastball is up, I think 20 to 25% from 12% last year. So that's very exciting because if you can do that with your heater, it's a great indicator. And, Liberatore almost seems like he's like one of those low velo guys, but he's up and sitting around 95, I believe, quite often. former top prospect. I wrote here, I could probably write a whole article breaking down this new pitch mix. And then I said, wait, does this count as an article? Anyway, pick up Matthew Liberatore. He's widely available. And you know what? He's less available today. I spent like $91 in fab in our TGFBI. I used a lot of my budget. I didn't get him in Otanu. Someone outbid me by one. I didn't need him in that league, but I got him in lots of places. My teams are not doing well in these startup 30-mans. I got good prospects. Augustine's going to save my life, apparently. But I got some pitching injuries, and I'm thinking Liberatore. I basically went from sleeping on him to all in. Does any of this make you wish you had your 2020? Wish you gave me back my 2027 picks?
No, but it's because I in both leagues have 5 to 7 pitchers on my IL. So and I drafted accordingly. 2025 season was going to be a punt in both leagues. It was in the draft taking guys at a value because they were hurt, and Liberatore ended up being my best pitcher on my 2025 teams, which is that was the hope, right? If I take him, hope he gets a job in the rotation because he did well in the bullpen last year, pedigree as you talked about, and see what happens. I got best case scenario, in my opinion, for what he is. We were never going to get a Garrett Crochet. That's not the type of pitcher he is. When we did the deal today, I texted you, and sincerely, because I mean this, I think he's more Cliff Lee, right? More big curveball potential usage and strikeout, change up, plays off his velo with his other pitches better. So as you said, it plays up. And, we could have a really solid player that turns into a dominant player in the next few years. But for the picks, it's like they're assets that I might be able to use. And I'm selling, in my opinion, I'm selling at a good point. Because where I got him to what I turned him into, it's great. Now I could regret it, but that's a fantasy trade.
Yeah, no, I literally went out and sent trades in every single league that I'm in that I don't have. So
the first offers you gave me in both leagues weren't bad.
Well,
if it wasn't me, right?
Yeah.
If I'm just, and that's no disrespect to anyone that listens. It's just we do this podcast. We spend a lot of our time on fantasy baseball. We know better than to trade him for a package of, maybe sub top 100 guys. But there are some people that might be like, hell yeah, I just picked him off the waiver wire. I'll take those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Liberator's last few, I pronounce his name different apparently every time I mention him, but
the CBS guys, and I have gone off this for a number of years, Liberatore, and it doesn't spell that way, but that's how I've heard it pronounced on broadcasts.
Let me know what you think about this trade. I traded him, and this is pending, like it's happening. It got accepted. I trade Jackson Ferris, a 4th rounder, Tyler Black, Jacob Mizorowski for Lib.
Wait a minute. Tyler Black, Mizorowski, who was the first?
Jackson Ferris.
Oh,
4th rounder.
How deep is the league?
This is Ross's league. You're in this league, actually.
Oh,
it's like 20 teams or something.
Wait, you're in this league?
Yeah, I just took over someone's team.
What?
Yeah, because the last second.
I know our listeners love to hear this. What's your team?
My team's name is not Doc because I don't have enough of my guys yet.
Oh yeah, so we played each other last week.
Did we?
We did.
I've barely been able to keep up.
It's okay. I'm not going to bring up what happened because it's not fair since it's not really your team.
Okay, good. I literally didn't look to see, but I assume it was bad.
I'm doing the same thing in that league where I'm like, I was punting this season and I'm like 3rd or 4th in the league. And I was like, well, that's not the intention because if I need my draft picks.
That guy came at me for Chase Burns plus more for Lib to start. And I said, well, that's not happening.
I don't love giving up Jackson Ferris. I have no problem giving up Mizorowski and Black. Mizorowski, I think, has higher upside, but he could be a reliever. I think Jackson Ferris is a stud. But
really?
Oh yeah, I love Ferris.
I actually have a hard time go on.
He's a Dodger. Like
yeah.
Like when is he gonna play? When's he gonna get hurt? Are we gonna see value out of him before the next decade? So I get that part.
That's it though. Like dodge your arms now, or it's just so weird to me. It's like I don't know. Apparently, he's on the. I can't. I kind of like that. There's mystery in the minors. He's on the IL. It says,
Yeah,
but there's
we'll
nothing
hear
about
back
it.
in 3 months.
Yeah. What do you guys didn't know? He had friggin' his shoulder got removed. What?
Well, okay,
Yeah.
that keep going because that brings us to our next topic. But I want you to finish off with that
Yeah.
trade.
I mean, he's a fine prospect, but he's he's gonna get slow rolled. He's got some command issues. I actually Mizorowski, it's kind of tricky to find a high end reliever, to be honest. But and frankly, he's got like that size that probably makes him a better, and like the arsenal that makes him probably a better closer than Yoho or Uribe or any of those guys in Milwaukee. But if it's a closer or who I think to be like essentially, I think Liberatore is going to be top 3 round redraft arm one day.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, that falls in line with the Cliff Lee comp.
That's a pretty wide range.
Yeah.
That could be the end of the 3rd round. Still good.
Well, but the other piece with like we talked about the issues with Jackson Ferris. The other issue with Mizorowski, if he's a high leverage reliever, right? Let's say that happens. What if Craig Yoho just is the guy, right? We're writing him off, not us, but the industry because of the lack of high end velo on his fastball. We've talked about it before. Williams had uptick in velo. What if Yoho, ends up closing in Milwaukee this year, end of season? Sure, he's throwing 91, 92, 94, but the changeup is just so incredibly ridiculous that it plays up, and he's just their closer. And if he's their closer, Mizorowski can't be their closer. So what if Mizorowski just gets trapped for a number of seasons as like the fireman, right? And then we're talking about his value plummeting.
Yeah.
Because people just won't know what he is.
Yeah, man. No, I'm happy with that deal. I actually felt like I gave up more with your deal, especially because I know how to use my picks. And yeah. Anyway, we yammered on about this, but the point is, Matthew Liberator, he's still like he's either hanging around, like the fact that he's just getting cleaned up off the waivers in every league, like means he's not fully baked in as a stud yet. And Max, let's put it this way. I was toying with the idea of getting Max Meyer in a 12-teamer a week ago. I was significantly less confident in his ability to keep it up. I was like, I think he's going to keep it up. After the 14 strikeout game, it's like, oh man, he's going to keep it up. Like, it's so like
I want you to rank, and I love it. Your mind's always just on track with where I'm going next. Rank these guys, and we talked about it off air yesterday. Liberatore or Liberator, however you want to pronounce it. Max Meyer, Mackenzie Gore. Dynasty, Meyer, Gore, Liberator.
Interesting. I want to check out one thing real quick with Max Meyer, but I'll tell you, I have Liberator above Gore. I think I have Gore 3rd.
Okay.
I like Gore. I like all 3, but there's just some things are missing. I'm trying to see if Max Meyer has actually. I've seen his slider obliterate guys.
It's an interesting pitch because when I was watching him yesterday, it doesn't so much break as a traditional slider would. It's more of a really hard biting curveball. I think of a slider kind of like a sweeper where there's a little bit of sweep to it, especially if you throw it on the outside corner to righties, if you're a right-handed pitcher. And Meyer had it a number of times yesterday where he threw it on the outside plate and it just dove down and guys couldn't touch it. And I was like, wow, it's an interesting way to throw the ball.
Yeah. And I remember watching him last year. I'm like, yeah, if this guy, his command just wasn't there. But
coming off TJ, right? Like,
yeah. But if he could start putting these together, it could make it happen. So what he's doing this year, I haven't fully looked into him just because I saw like all his surface stats were amazing, and I've seen him play. I don't always study these savant pages. I do it when I'm not sure. Like with Liberator, I'm like, he's been bad for years. There's no way. Is he actually breaking out? That's when I dig in and check out the deep numbers. Meyer, like I didn't have to do that. I'm like, yeah, he's breaking out. I know he's breaking out. So I'm looking at it right now, and yeah, his mix has completely shifted up. Like he has cut his fastball usage. He was basically half slider, half four-seamer last year, and he's throwing like a changeup. This year, he's like keeping the same slider usage, but he's divvying up that 40% four seamer. Like he's divvying it up, doing a lot more sinker, doing some broad. He's sprinkling in a sweeper in there, just giving some other looks, which keeps the batter honest, right? So it's exciting. I would say my gut says, dude, you keep asking me this. Here's the thing. Here's the red flag that actually made me think about trading for, think against trading for Max Meyer. He's in the second percentile for average EVs against, even after that game. Like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of freaking me out a bit. Like, I'm not really a big savant. We talked about this. It's not like savant is everything, but if you're gonna have one thing that's really bad on your savant page, the worst thing to me, other than walking guys all the time, is like letting up the worst EVs in the league. That sounds bad. Does that concern you at all? And I guess to answer your first, I guess that my rank would be, I'd still have Meyer because I'm looking at Liberator. His average EVs against aren't great either, but I'll give Meyer. He just had a 14 strikeout game. I have to give him credit.
Yeah, that answers the question. And I think, weirdly enough, I actually agree with you on 1 and 2. And I say that because I would never have thought coming into the year that Liberatore could ever supplant where Gore would be in these rankings, right? But Gore's great, but I think we also know where Gore is now, which is, we talked about it, 2-3 games a year where he blows everybody away, uses the strikeouts, uses the shadows, has some games where he's kind of middling, has some games where he's just solid. Whereas Liberatore, I think, will probably limit the damage more. And the Max Meyer thing does concern me, but it's the same problem that Gore has. They throw hard pitches at time get crushed. That's baseball. And that's kind of what's beautiful about Liberatore is he's not throwing 98. The soft contact is more obtainable for him because that's what he's leaning on. So
what if I told you that his fastball velo is basically the same as Max Meyer's right now?
You're saying Liberatore?
Yeah.
That concerns me.
Yeah.
Not because I traded him. It concerns me because of our conversation with Sanchez.
And it's like, I mean, he's always been like that. He had a 94.7 average sitting at last year. And
Meyer's not sitting at 96, 97 anymore. Because that was always the impression I had of Meyer, was he just threw super hard for a smaller bodied guy.
No, he's never been that guy. At least not in 24, not in 25. He's just been a heavy slider.
Can you see what he was 23? Because pre-TJ, I want to say that Meyer was throwing with pretty high-end velocity. Not like Skeens or Hunter Green, but to the point where I want to say he was averaging 96 at least, because
he had a sink. He threw one sinker for 95.8 in 2022. Okay. Here's what you probably saw. You probably saw him touching. He was probably touching, 96, 97.
That actually makes me even happier with Meyer, though, with what you're saying, because that's good, right? That's the pocket we want these guys to actually sit. We don't want them sitting 98 every single game. We don't want them Hunter Green. We don't want to see him as Jose Siriano was last year, who thankfully made adjustments in his velocity and in his pitch mix and overall. They're not Paul Skeens. They're not built to be a guy.
Real quick, do you know, I haven't really fully mentioned, I've been talking about pitch mix and everything. This is probably most important part worth mentioning. Do you know how many walks that Liberatore has been issuing this year versus strikeouts?
I want to say, if I were to take a guess at how many
walks how many walks in 25 innings this year?
4.
2.
Oh, that's nice.
It's insane. He's got a 24-2.
That goes into the, he's pitching, which is encouraging, right? He's not out there just blowing things away, guys. He's not getting lucky. He's pitching. And I mean, you could see it with Quinn Priester yesterday. It lasted 4 innings. And I know this isn't fair to compare Liberatore to Priester, but also another formerly high, touted first round pick, had 4 walks through the second inning. And it's you're not going to win baseball games when your talent can't make up for your inability to have control. No matter how good you are, if you have 4 walks through 2 innings, you're already at a disadvantage with your pitch count. So Liberatore, like that's an added piece of value. Less walks, more quality starts, even if he's not getting wins, right? Like that just builds the package for why to go out and acquire him.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so we're about 15 minutes. I had one topic I wanted to bring up to you because I think it's interesting for the listener. I think it's value for us. You talked about your 12 man. I brought up actually my home league as well. We've talked before how more shallow leagues can be a lot of fun. Home leagues usually are a little bit smaller. Not everybody has Ross's home league, which is 20 people. So what I wanted to bring up was in those leagues, and I know your home league is different because you've built a system to have minor leaguers. But the question I want to raise to you is in shallower leagues that are keeper or dynasty, when are you starting to target guys that weren't worth rostering because of roster space? And I'm saying either very limited minor league slots, no minor league slots, or bench spots that need to be leveraged for current competitive play on prospects that are below AA. The name that came up for me was Sikora. Should be back soon. Again, no news out there, of course. Heaven forbid we have a report that says we don't have any new news. I'm thinking Jesus Made, the guys that we like that in dynasty leagues, proper dynasty leagues, are rostered. Where do you put those guys in home leagues and other shallower leagues?
How many slots do we get for minor leaguers in this 12-team home league?
I'm going to say, because this is hypothetical, I don't want to just use mine. I'm going to say you get 3.
And there's 12 teams in the league. I mean,
so 36 minor leaguers. Now you
Unless-
can use bench spots too. Like I'm trying to build this for like the people listening, right? Like, say you have 10 bench spots.
I think my league's probably the best case where we have my home league is I've turned this Yahoo league into the best version of Dynasty it can be without ruining my life. 10 NA slots, and then I have this little functioning waivers thing. But you get 10 keeper slots, 12 teams, 12 minor league slots. So in like that situation, there's guys like Max Clark, Charlie Condon, Sikora. What's we got? Thomas White is he in AA now? Whatever. He was. I was holding him before then. Yeah, I mean, there's just certain, you have to be an elite stud if you're holding. You can't just be holding. You can't just be holding
10.
kind of.
You said 10, right?
10 slots per team.
Okay, so 120 minor leaguers.
You want to lean like AA or higher unless they're absolute studs.
So, but what is, and that's what I want to, that's the question. And I wish I prefaced it with that. Who are the absolute studs to you, even in your home league, worth rostering today? Again, I think of Made, Sikora, Lazaro Montes, Luis de Vries, Clark you had mentioned. But out of those names that I listed, are they worth even rostering in that league for you?
Those names you just listed right now?
Correct.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay.
I think you should be. Yes, they're going to be very good. When you get down to like 2 slots in a 12-teamer, like we got that one Roto league. I'm just like, I'm all in on proximity just because.
Okay.
Here's what you have to remember, right? First of all, you're still going to get studs because there's only 24 slots or whatever. I just don't. Here's what I think. If you're in a 12-teamer with 2 NA slots each in like a Yahoo league, 2 minor league slots, don't do a full rebuild. You don't need to, because there's going to be Liberatores, there's going to be Myers, there's going to be Kyle Stowers, there's going to be Jonathan Miranda, there's going to be Soderstrom, there's going to be breakouts, there's going to be guys you can get off the free agent pool or waiver wire that are going to make your team better immediately. So. And you could have the stud, like we could have a Nick Kurtz on the verge here. What happens if he actually turns out he needs to take like 2 or 3 years to like actually, let's just maybe use a better example of someone who plays for Los Angeles or New York. Like they're their top prospect, but there's just no room. You know what I'm saying? Like what happens even if they're good, What if there's Jonathan Aranda, where it takes a couple of years for him to really get a fair shake and fair shot? You're going to really, sit around and just keep waiting in this awkward zone. And maybe your league doesn't have a cool commissioner like me. Maybe if you're in Yahoo and it's a NA slot and he's promoted and he's struggling, you have to keep him on your big league roster, burning a bench slot. It's like, limit that kind of thing. And my point actually is like, yeah, of course that can happen with the proximity guys too, but you're shortening the paying time versus if you had like this guy you're holding for 3 years since the lower minors. Now he's promoted, and it's another 2 to 3 years for him to figure out how to break out in the majors. That was a 6-year experiment.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and that's a really good, I think, point you bring up. And that actually happened to me in my home league where we don't have any minor league slots. It's just your bench spots. And I had Dominguez almost immediately after signing. Had him right for the 3 years. Got burnout, prospect fatigue on him. It was like, I'm just so tired of him burning a roster spot. He ended up changing hands 2 or 3 times. I think almost 5 years after signing that he finally made his debut, or we'll just say 5 years maybe from today. I might be a year off, but it's like if you do that, it's a long time, and the prospect fatigue will likely happen if you roster other prospects, which you should be. So I think everything you said is correct, and yes, league to league, but Nick Kurtz is a perfect example. Like he's the kind of guy, Roman Anthony, right? Nick Kurtz, Roman Anthony, Andrew Painter. Those names, if you don't have minor league slots, are probably really the only ones worth rostering.
Well, it's funny though, because like even when I'm talking about Nick Kurtz and I have to like censor myself, I'm like, no, but he's not going to be one of those guys. It's like he could easily be one of those guys. Look at Jackson Holiday, who's considered can't miss. Of course, he's a prep guy. He's not a college bat, but it's like it's so funny. Like when before they come up, it's like, no, of course that guy's going to be 100% polished and ready. And then like Jason Dominguez right now, it's kind of annoying to roster him. Is not doing well.
Dylan Cruz. I mean, he's had a better week last week, but you take those 2 games out in Colorado, Dylan Cruz is one of the worst major leaguers there offensively.
It's tough, man. It's tough.
Doc, that's all I got for us today. We did this no outline. Yeah, like we've been doing, which is pretty nice, pretty authentic, pretty genuine for you, the listener. Anything else you want to chat about before we say goodbye today?
Yeah, I just want to definitely emphasize what you just said. We are complete studs. Absolute amazing podcasters. Tell your friends, tell your friends that, these guys may or may not be the greatest fantasy experts of all time, but even if they're not, they're entertaining. And I'm just going to tell you that I'm your Huckleberry.
We'll see you guys next week.